In dramatic 15th ballot, Republican Kevin McCarthy appears to clinch House Speaker vote, and he's the 55th person to do that. McCarthy overcomes GOP rebellion to be elected Speaker. California Republican made concessions in exchange for votes. Speaker vote comes as House GOP begins majority in turmoil. And House elects McCarthy as Speaker after days of defeats and concessions. So this is how the vote broke down. You guys can see this here. So it took 15 votes, but McCarthy is now the Speaker of the House, is what it appears. As of recording, I think he won. Basically, towards the end, he ended up with 216 votes. Jeffries at 212, 0 voting for other people. And basically what they did is the people who were in opposition voted present, which basically means it sort of removes them from the equation. The people who voted present, you can see this here, Andy Biggs, Lauren Boebert, Eli Crane, Matt Gaetz, Bob Good, and Matt Rosendale. Much of the focus of the night, and I actually watched the voting live, and maybe if you're watching this, you might have watched as well. It was actually pretty crazy drama. It was entertaining, and I have mixed feelings about this thing. One is I'll say I am a big supporter of democracy. I do think that we have a right to vote, and our representatives represent their constituents and vote. So I have no problem with the voting, etc. But I also want to express some concerns about basically what happened. First is much of the focus was actually on Gaetz, and you can read the headline of him. I do not like Gaetz. I've said that several times on the channel, more than once. And apparently people in the Republican Party don't like him either, so even his own party doesn't like him. You can read a headline on him. Sex trafficking row helped fuel Gaetz' hatred for McCarthy. This is real stuff. This was actually last year. His buddy, you can see, I'm not making this stuff up. Gaetz' associate pleads guilty to 6 federal crimes, including sex trafficking teen. This is like one of his associates. And so the basic gist, if I remember correctly, they were offering to pay school books for girls like 17, that kind of thing. I don't want to get too much into it, but this is to say Gaetz is not a good guy and associating with these kind of people. And I don't know why Gaetz wasn't found guilty on this stuff, to be really frank. I don't know. If anyone remembers that, please let me know. I don't want to go through digging it, but I'm just wanting to point out that Gaetz is not a good guy. The other thing is, too, with Gaetz, there was this weird scene where Mike Rogers, I believe Mike Rogers from Alabama, he was like yelling at Gaetz, and then what appears to be, I guess, security or just someone else grabbed him by the face. You can see the picture right there. I was like, what? And basically pulled him off Gaetz. And there were other footage that I saw. Gaetz and McCarthy had exchanged words. So there were not fond feelings of people towards Gaetz. And the one thing that was interesting is I think Gaetz is raising money off of this stuff, which is not unheard of, right? Politicians will all do this. They'll say, hey, if you support me in my thing, join my fight, donate money. So I don't necessarily hate on Gaetz for that. I'm just saying part of what he's doing is it for public show and public spectacle. They know they can't win, but they want to get something. The rumor has it is Gaetz is going to be sitting on some sort of committee. It could be, I'll just say it could be military, but I don't know. It could change. The whole issue with this whole thing is the problem is in Congress, right? People vote, and normally what you do is you go around and you tell everyone, okay, I want you to vote this way. What do you want? What can we get you to vote this way, etc. And then what it seems like why this thing was taking so long is someone wasn't necessarily telling the truth. And the other thing that, as well as I guess some people were upset that there were many leaks within private meetings. Because basically, think of it this way. If you're Gaetz or anyone, it doesn't matter to say, if you're anyone in Congress and you're like, okay, I will vote for you, but you're going to give me a seat on a committee, or I'll vote for you, but you're going to support me in this other thing, right? And you kind of want to keep these things private. It's just something you want confidential, and I think some of these members, at least that's what they were reporting, is they were unhappy that leaks were getting out. The other issue, which I mentioned before, that someone was lying, was because it was reported that McCarthy had told some people that basically, we have the votes, come on back to D.C., let's get this thing done, because in some cases, which is really quite interesting, they're voting through a multi-day period, and there'll just be a few people here and there that might have a doctor's appointment or have some sort of commitment or any number of things, right? They just can't be there. And it's not like everybody, but just, one or two people can't be there, et cetera. And then when you call them back to okay, cancel whatever you had to do. And I understand people are like, well, Chris, they're members of Congress or something like that. But yes, I get that. But, there was some just oddball cases of one or two people that just, couldn't be there. But because the vote was so close, every single vote mattered. And literally he McCarthy, won with just enough votes. The other thing too that matters, obviously I'm sure you understand this, is that they were also sort of negotiating the rules going forward and what's going to be on the agenda. And basically, even though McCarthy won, it seems like he's going to be really weak going forward. And you're going to have this group of basically kind of, how do I want to say, fringe Republicans that can, turn the tide at any moment they want and upset the anything getting passed. So there's a high chance that nothing will get done this time around. Now, there's one particular thing that I guess is going to be extremely important, and this will be this summer, maybe around July, which they'll be voting on the debt ceiling. Now, one of the things, and I actually agree with these people, was going for a balanced budget, right? And the problem is that if the money's just not there, like you've already approved, let's say, for example, you're going to spend a whole bunch of money on road construction, just for example, and you have all these things in place, and you've already spent the money, and you just got to approve to get the things going, or for example, you're going to pay benefits to veterans or just whatever. I'm just coming up with stuff. That's part of the budget has been, and then when it comes down to approve like a new budget and you can't get anything done because you've already overspent, and they like really want to have a balanced budget, which like I said, I don't disagree with that, but we could have a real a fight coming this summer regarding the budget. So because of the way the rules going forward is where they could remove the speaker at any time, and essentially with a very thin margins for the Republicans getting passed. So, obviously, it would be great if we could live in a world where, both parties come together and we can have some consensus votes, or we get maybe some people voting outside of party lines. But in this particular Congress, it's not really how it works. They're sharply divided. But I think, though, I can probably say this pretty fairly. I think a lot of people really don't like this group of, 20, but now maybe 6 people. Now, guys, really, I really understand. Someone say, well, that's democracy. We vote, and those people have a right to stand what they believe in. Right, I'm right there with you. I really believe in democracy. But the problem is, as I mentioned with, say, Gaetz or Boebert, is these particular people, they're just not good people. So, right, if it was someone that really had some sort of principles and was a noble person, I would tell you, this is a noble person, right? They're fine with what they believe in, but it kind of seems like for these kind of people, they're what's the right word to say, playing for themselves. Politics is a team game, and part of what you got to do is I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, that kind of thing. That's not unheard of, and it's just business as well. And like I said, it seems like there must have been someone. I don't know if it's Gaetz in particular. I don't know why the articles are coming out just about him, because you could talk about Boebert as well. But it seems like that someone wasn't telling the truth necessarily, because basically what's going on is there are a bunch of promises being made to get this deal passed through. And then we're going to see, because I guess there's a rules committee document that's going to be 55 pages. I haven't read all 55 pages to know all of the rules that are going to be voted on, et cetera, because I haven't passed that yet. First, you pick the peace speaker, and then you pass the rules going forward. So then we're going to see like who's on what committees and sort of what deals were made, basically. So I'm reporting this like really right after it happens, so we don't know what sort of inside deals were made, and it'll be really quite interesting what happens. That's it. There's one other thing I just want to mention very, very briefly. I can't confirm this at all. I just mentioned it very, very briefly because I don't want to spend too much time on it, because I can't confirm it. There was a report that just came out. This is about Matt Schlapp. So evidently, he's like the chairman of this thing called the American Conservative Union. So a pretty powerful person in the Republican Party. But there's a staffer that came out and was working on the Herschel Walker campaign. Was basically saying that Matt Schlapp was touching him and in a sexual harassment kind of way. I'm not going to play the audio or anything. I'm just going to tell you briefly what it was. I listened to it for myself, so it sounds very troubling. I can't confirm any of this stuff, so I'm also keeping out. I can't confirm any of this stuff, so I'm not going to say it's truthful one way or the other. But I do take this kind of stuff seriously. I know there's some people who, anytime they hear this kind of thing, they just dismiss it completely. I just don't think that's the right approach to take. And also, too, on another perspective as well, I don't automatically think that it's always true. So I just, listen to the evidence for myself. But the staffer was in tears and describing this thing, and the basic idea was, this is according to the staffer, so like I said, I can't confirm it. But he was supposed to be the driver for Matt Schlapp, and they were like at a bar or something, and I guess Matt Schlapp just kept touching him and stuff like that in the bar, and the guy's like, okay, it's a little bit weird. Maybe he's just drunk and thinks he's touching himself. And then I guess when they even got even it just went on way too long, basically. And then the other problem is the next day, I guess, he was the staffer was supposed to drive Matt Schlapp to like the airport or something like that, and then the guy said, I'm not gonna drive you. Go drive with someone else. He texted him, right, and then I guess Matt Schlapp said, oh hey, I'll call you, and then also the guy said I was uncomfortable with what happened last night, and then he never contacted Matt Schlapp again. He had recorded his feelings of this whole thing before. So if indeed that this happened, and if indeed these texts do exist, that's what I'm saying. I'm telling you what to look for. It looks pretty bad for Matt Schlapp, and like I said, I don't automatically say it's true, but I don't automatically dismiss it because I think these kind of things are serious, and I want to live in a world where people can go to work and not be harassed by their bosses, and I hope you understand that this is a serious thing, and I get it. Like, that's what I mentioned before. There's some people who automatically dismiss this kind of stuff, so I just tell you the facts of what I've heard, and it was just reported. So we'll see if this ends up, it could be a bunch of BS, but it could also be real. So who knows? But I do want to mention it. So because put this on the story of like stuff you hear about Matt Gaetz, that where like his colleague is pleading guilty to sex trafficking and stuff, and then he's just being a jerk, and people are out to hate him and stuff like that. Not everyone in Congress or in government are like these people, but there are some bad people out there, unfortunately. And one of the things that I mentioned in the beginning, where I like democracy, I like voting. I think if we can do things peacefully, that's fantastic. And this is also on the anniversary of the January 6th thing, which I just think was horrible and representative of what our democracy shouldn't be, right? Just storming the Capitol and violence. So I'm never going to not talk about that. I know some people don't like to talk about January 6th, but it's real. It happened, and I hope we can move past that and go to a more civil society. But I will say, moving forward with Gaetz and Boebert and Biggs and all these people, they've certainly created a chaos in our government. And like I said, I think the fight will be this summer on whether or not the Congress will raise the debt ceiling. So that'll be an interesting one, and it'll be a lot of fireworks, I can guarantee you. So that's my thoughts on this thing. McCarthy is now the Speaker of the House. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.